As long as the three wheels are narrating this dream, there's no limit to what we all can achieve. Welcome to the Three Wheels of Wrestling podcast. Willie Tiny without the real, and Emily fully recapping the aftermath to the mic, to the ropes, from the mat. No regrets from this shadow zone. There's no match for this podcast. Let's get ready to rumble. Let's get it on. Let's get ready to rumble. Let's get it on. Let's get ready to rumble. Let's get it on. Let's get ready to fight. This is a war machine. Through sweat and tears we chase the unseen. Harness the rage in this gritty scene. Your fists are your words, your actions keen. Rips up thunder, hearts ablaze with fear. Breaking the chains that brought us here. Podcast warriors, so we're alive. Three wheels cutting through legends to ride. Stand tall as the world trembles. Unlock the dreams that no one can dissemble.
Hello, welcome to Three Wheels of Wrestling Podcast. Yes, another wrestling podcast. I'm Willie Tiny, and my host today, as always, is Will the Thrill and L.A. Willie.
Yeah.
And our guest tonight, is the promoter of Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, Mr. Joel Gertner.
Goodhart. I'm keeping you in the dark. That's what it is. How's that for you?
You're keeping us in the dark, as always. As you're the promoter, you're behind the scenes. So you're going to be behind the scenes tonight on our podcast.
Not a problem. I'm here to answer any questions you've got.
Thank you. Bay Ragney.
Do I know Bay Ragney?
Nah, you don't know Bay.
He's an asshole.
Yes, he is. Well, he messed up on our podcast, and I end up returning the favor and messing up on my own podcast as butchering your name. We have Joel Goodhart.
Now he at least get the right name, you know.
Joel Goodhart. So, Joel, please tell us and your viewers and all the viewers of this podcast, who is Joel Goodhart?
Well, he's a nobody. That's why he's got a black thing over there with a white ball. Now, Joel Goodhart is a wrestling fan. I'm now 71 years old, and I remember my first match I went to with my father. I was either 6 or 7 years old. So I've been a wrestling fan for over 60 years. I went to the Market Street Arena and went to see some matches, fell in love with the sport, watched it on TV like everybody else did. And wrestling's one of those things. If you like it, you love it. And if you don't like it, you hate it. Okay? There's no middle ground. Anyway, back in the 80s, I was very fortunate to meet some people. I'm in the financial services business. Believe it or not, myself and a business partner, we have a firm of 17 people, and we manage over $1 billion for our clients. Anyway, one day I get a phone call from one of the accountants that we work with, and he says to me, I have a client of mine that's looking to get some life insurance. Would you mind going out to see him? Okay, so I went out to see him, and lo and behold, they were Carmella and Paul Panfill. And as it turned out, Carmella and Paul became my first partners. We were wrestling fans. And what happened was, I didn't know that they were wrestling fans. They didn't know I was. But Paul on the side says to me, let me ask you a question. Do you ever need tickets for anything? And I said, okay, give me a hint. He says, well, if you ever need tickets for Broadway shows or this or that, give me a call. I hustle tickets on the side and be more than happy to help you. So 3 or 4 weeks later, he calls me up and he says, are you a wrestling fan? And I said, yeah, why? He says, well, I got tickets for the NWA's coming to Philadelphia. You want to go see them? So at the time I was separated, I said, okay, let's go. Well, so turns out we get there, and we got front row seats. I'm not sure how he pulled that off, but we sat front row, and we win for 2 or 3 months in a row. And the matches were phenomenal. Rock and Roll Express against the Midnight Express, et cetera, et cetera. Everything worked out great. And then one day there was a guy walking around the ring before the matches started in a suit and tie. And for some reason, I said to myself, I want to find out who this guy is. So I just stood up. He comes walking by, and I said, I got a question for you. Who are you? You looked important. And now he's since passed away, but he said, my name is Elliot Murnick, and I happen to be Crockett's eyes and ears here in Philadelphia. So I said, okay. He says, do me a favor. When you're done tonight, why don't you come back to the Marriott, and we'll have a drink. Well, I don't drink, but I said, okay, not a problem. I'll come back. I said to him then, what's Marriott? I didn't know where the hell these guys went. And he said, the airport Marriott's just known there. You go find it. You'll get there. Anyway, I get there after the matches were over, and there must have been 300 people there. Did I know that that's where all the smart marks went, and all these people went, and the girls went, and all this kind of stuff? So I meet him in the bar, and we sit down and talk, and we became friends. About 2 or 3 months later, we kept meeting each other at the Marriott afterwards. We were sitting down, and one time I said to him, let me ask you, Elliot, if I can ask, are you Jewish? He said, yeah. I said, well, I'm Jewish. And I said, what are the odds of two Jewish guys meeting at a wrestling show? It's generally not the way this thing works. Anyway, we hit it off. We became good friends. And then one day he says to me, can I ask you a question? Have you ever thought about getting into promotions in wrestling? And I said, no, I never gave it any thought at all. He says, well, I'm looking for somebody to be my ears and eyes here in Philadelphia. Why? I live in North Carolina, and I come up to the Philly show, but I take my boat up. He takes his boat from North Carolina all the way up to Philadelphia, which has to take him a day and a half by boat. And he said, I need to have somebody local. So anyway, that's how I got into this thing, because I asked the guy why he was wearing a suit and tie. And 6 months later, I'm now his eyes and ears in Philadelphia. He then calls me up and says, here's your first job. Crockett told me we've got to find a show for a midweek show, a Wednesday show. We can't use the Civic Center in Philly because that's only for Saturdays. Go find me a building. Now, what the hell do I know? Well, as it turns out, Carmel and I, a year back or so, did an independent card at the Valley Forge Sheraton. And so I called them up, and lo and behold, they were okay. Let's do a show. And therefore, I became a promoter for Crockett Promotions indirectly. I mean, I never got paid by them, but I became a promoter. And that's how I got involved in the business. Slowly but surely, I got to meet everybody, and I got to know Flair, and I can go down the list. And one thing just led to the other. Now, while all of that's going on, Carmel and I got approached by a fellow by the name of Roger Crone, who has since passed away as well. And Roger came up to me and Carmella, and at the time we had a store called the Squared Circle. We were one of the first original wrestling stores. And he said, did you ever consider having a radio show? And I said, no. He says, well, my title, I'm with WTTM in Trenton, and I'm the program director, and we'd love to sell you a half hour worth of time for $75 at that time. And it'll be your radio show, and you'll want to talk wrestling. It's a good way to promote your show, promote your store. So lo and behold, we did that, and one thing led to the other, and it's a whole story about how that radio show grew. It wound up being on WIP in Philadelphia, which is the largest radio station for sports in Philadelphia. I did it for 4.5 years. We had 29,000 listeners. So you asked me, who's Joel Goodhart? Well, I was a store proprietor with Carmella. I was a promoter through Elliot Murnick, and I, again, did some shows with Carmella and did a number of shows without. We had a radio show. We didn't have TV. Anyway, the story keeps going on, and for every chance we had, every fork in the road, we took the right fork. And one thing led to the other, and here I am 35 years later talking about what I did 35 years ago.
Very cool.
Very cool.
See, you ask a simple question, and I give you a 20-minute answer.
Well, you pretty much answered, our next question, which would be like, how long have you been a promoter?
Okay, well, I actually started promoting in the 80s. Okay, I gave it up in 1992, officially January 18th of 92.
Wow.
I didn't, then in 2009, 17 years later. Now, understand, for 17 years, I didn't watch wrestling. I didn't call anybody. I shredded and actually burned my phone book that had everybody's phone number. That book would probably sell for a fortune if I had it today. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and I came back 2009. I got a phone call at my office from Michael Bruno, whose real name is Mike Tartaglia. And he says to me, I have a question for you. I'm thinking of starting up a promotion. Would you mind if I use TWA? And I said, well, I never registered it. It's not copyrighted. I haven't used it for 17 years. Go do it. Now, he didn't tell me his ulterior motive. So he puts on 3 shows at TWA, and bottom line is he buries the TWA. He's the TWA champion, lost to the ECWA champion, etc. And he purchased the ECWA, which is a local organization in the area. Well, anyway, I still, to this day, I know Mike very well. Michael's a client of mine, but he didn't tell me his, I don't know if it was the time he told me he could do it, if that was his ulterior motive, but that's the way it wound up to be. So then it disappeared again. And now I've kind of laid low. I'm not one that look, the WWF or WWE had WrestleMania here in Philadelphia. I didn't attend a single one of those things. I can't stand the WWE. It's just not my style. Now, again, with all that being said, I get approached by Bay Ragney, and you mentioned Bay before. Bay calls me up and he says, I came up with an idea. I said, go ahead. What's the idea? He says, the banners in the ECWA arena, in the ECW arena, have all these names that are up there, but there's no recognition of what came before ECW, which was the TWA. In fact, quite frankly, if it wasn't for the TWA, there wouldn't be ECW.
Correct.
And I said, okay. He says, well, there's 5 names I want on the banner. And it was my 4 main guys, myself. So it was DC Drake, Larry Winters, the late Larry Winters, Johnny Hotbody, Tony Stetson, and Joel Goodhart. And he's been promoting the hell out of this thing. They need 1,000 signatures. They're up to 590. I don't know if you guys signed on it or not, but right now we have a campaign going on to get 1,000 signatures on this campaign. If we do, we get the banner in the ECW arena. Wow. So this is what Bay started. And then, of course, Bay and I started talking every night on the phone. And in one thing, we're talking one to the other. And I said to him, we need to do something. How about if we start up the TWA again, like an idiot? I said that, okay? And Bay said, nah, he buried that idea real quick. Then a couple of days later, we're talking. I said, you know what? I came up with an idea. Flair had his last match. Sting had his last match. I'm a big ELO fan, and they're now having their final tour. I never had my last match. So I came up with the name One and Done. And I came up with it in 2 seconds. And I said, let's do one more show, One and Done. I'm going to promote it as my last show. I'm going to keep my word. I'm not doing promotion. I'm not starting up the TWA again. I'm not looking at monthly shows or quarterly super shows. So that's where this One and Done came up with. Now, I don't know how much you want to get into this. You can ask me questions. I'll get into the details of it. But we're going to have one more card. The TWA had some great shows. Again, one of the reasons I'm on this podcast is 35 years later, I'm still talking about the shows we did. And people are still asking questions. And what's clear is the timeline. It was the TWA, which created the ECW, which created the Attitude Era, which took it further and further and further. Yes. And I could bore you to death with names. Here's what I know. Todd wrote a book called Todd Is God. Well, if I created Todd, what am I then? Okay. Okay. I'm the God creator. All right. So anyway, this thing is snowballing. The show is going to be phenomenal. I don't know what area. Where are you guys from? What area are you from?
Delco.
Delco
County, just outside of Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in Montgomery County. So you're right down the road. Anyway, we're doing it. So we decided to do a show. The date is May 3rd. of next year, I said, you know what? Let's take a look at what buildings are around. So the first one I went to or looked for was Temple's McGonigal Hall, because that's where I started my shows. Well, that's obviously no longer. Then I went to the Philadelphia Civic Center. It's not there anymore. Nope. Then I went to the Philadelphia Original Sports Bar. The sports bar is not there anymore. So all the places I wrestled are gone. So I said, if I'm going to do a show, I don't want to do one in a school gym. I'm not looking to do it in one of these low-end buildings. So we put a call in. It took a while for us to get through, but we finally got through to the 2300 arena. That used to be the ECW arena. I got a hold of a guy by the name of Roger, who owns it. And I told him I called him up, and I had no clue what to do. I said, Roger, you don't know me, but my name is Joel Goodhart. And he says, I know who you are. See, 35 years later, people still remembered me. So anyway, I went down to see him, and he gave me he's really redone the ECW building. It's gorgeous now. I mean, it used to be a dive, if you will. It's gorgeous now. And I said, look, I want to put on a show. He gave me 2 dates, May 3rd and May 10th. Well, May 10th is the Saturday of Mother's Day, so I figured I didn't want to go there. So let's do May 3rd. So we went, and because I wanted to do it in the spring, early summer. I didn't want to do it. We started this thing back in March or April. Okay, I didn't want to do it in the dead heat of summer. Then you went into winter. So let's make spring. It's going to take a year to put this together. We got the building. So the show is going to be at the 2300 Arena on Saturday, May 3rd. We're going to have 2 different things going on. From 12 to 3:30, we're going to have something we're calling a WrestleCon. We're bringing in a lot of talent. We've only named 2 people so far. We obviously have a long list of people that have agreed to appear. Most of them have some tie into the TWA. So the first name that we announced was Sabu. And even though Sabu was a great ECW wrestler, keep in mind, everybody's point, Sabu started with the TWA on the East Coast. He had already been wrestling out in the Midwest, but he happened to be the original Sheik's driver, his uncle. All right. Yeah. So when original Sheik came to a couple of my shows, Sabu came on, introduced him. I said, go ahead, get dressed, and you're going to fly into the ring, do whatever you want to do in one of our battle royals. And he did it. The second one that we announced is Tony Atlas. All right. Now, Tony Atlas had nothing to do with the TWA, but he was the star of the Mr. McMahon show with Netflix. Okay. And everybody knows that I just didn't like the WWE, WWF, WWF, whatever you want to call them. Right. So we're bringing Tony Atlas in. So that's the first 2 names. We're going to have about 15 to 20 named talent. Plus at the WrestleCon, what really is, we have all the TWA guys that are still in the area who are going to appear. And that's, the big names are fine. They do what they do. But it's the TWA talent that made me, well, believe it or not, got me here 35 years later. Okay. And I have a list. I don't know if you follow the TWA or if you did follow the TWA, but I can give you some names. In fact, if you don't mind, I'm going to give you a list of names. These are the guys from the TWA that have agreed to appear on May 3rd. Okay.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right.
Breaking news?
No, it's not breaking. We've announced this already. But here's the key to this is I have this in alphabetical order, so there's no level of importance here. Some of the names might be recognizable, some may not. The key is they're all going to be at the WrestleCon, and they're all going to be at the show. All right, so here's the names. The first, and again, alphabetical order. Donnie Allen. Donnie, who used to be DC Drake's handler. Donnie, who became a musician, plays local. In fact, he's big in Delaware County. So Donnie Allen will be in appearance. Next one is Bob Ortiz. And Bob Ortiz was originally just sat ringside for me, him and his wife Lex. And then one thing led to the other. We got to know him very well. He became an investor in the TWA. And then he started doing some ring announcing at my Bar War shows. And then, of course, he was the ring announcer for ECW. So Bob Ortiz will be in the house along with Lex. Ernesto Bonifica, who was a student at Tri-State School, which was Ringmasters Wrestling School. And again, now lives in Bucks County in the Philadelphia area, but Ernesto will be there as well. Breaker Morant. who wrestled in the second tier of the TWA when we went back in 2009. Breaker is this generation's DC Drake. And I've said that all along. He's just a phenomenal talent, still wrestling. And in fact, he's now on his retirement tour.
Correct.
We're not sure how many matches he's going to have. He's going to be at our show, and we'll see what number that will be in his retirement tour. Then we have Michael Bruno. I mentioned his name before, the Hitman Michael Bruno. He's going to be there. Michael has businesses in South Jersey, been very successful with them, and he's going to be there as well. Cujo the Hellhound. He was in our second tier of the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, and he's agreed to appear at our show. DC Drake, my number one heel. He lives in Rhode Island up in New England. He's coming down on May 3rd for the show. He's going to be in attendance. And having DC Drake there, keep in mind, a lot of these people don't do appearances at a lot of these cons. So if you ever want to get autographs, signatures, pictures, it's going to be the place to do it. The next guy, John Finnegan. John
nice.
Excuse me?
I said nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, John, I don't have a picture here, so it's hard. You got the logo up there. John Finnegan was the lead referee for my organization, and then he obviously was the lead referee for ECW, but he will be in attendance. A guy that nobody knows, Larry Gallone. Larry Gallone's going to be there. Larry Gallone, back in the day, printed up all my own programs. It was his artwork. He did that kind of work, and he's agreed to do the program for this show on May 3rd. But we also have old copies of the old programs. And again, if anybody is a memorabilia collector, you're going to want to see Larry Gallone. Then I've got Johnny Hotbody. Johnny Hotbody was my number one heel, 1A. DC Drake was 1 and Hotbody was 1A. Johnny was he ripped up South Philadelphia. For me, it was ridiculous. And Johnny, who lives in Atlantic City, will be in for that show. Rich Engling. Rich was one of my original referees. He now lives in Florida. Rich Engling happens to be vice president of the Cauliflower Alley Club. I happen to be a lifetime member, and portion of the proceeds from the show is going to go to the Cauliflower Alley Club. Jimmy Giannetti, he's another one who lives in Florida. Jimmy Giannetti is coming up. Fortunately, his father lives in Philly, and he's going to drive up for the show on May 3rd. And Jimmy,
that's awesome.
Oh my God, this is great. Now, I only got about 10 mains more to go, give or take. Mike Keener, who was one of our referees in the second wave of the TWA, is going to be in the house.
Oh, but he's retired. Is he going to ref? Is he going to ref?
Oh, he's going to ref. Yep.
Awesome. Yes.
Yep. He's going to ref. Okay. I'm not sure how many of the matches he's going to ref because of the show that we're doing, but he will be refereeing. I guarantee it. Blue Meanie. Now, Blue Meanie, wrestled for the second wave of the TWA, but Blue Meanie has a little bit of history. When Carmelo and I had the Squared Circle fan club, we also did trips all over the country, and one of the places that we really went to a lot was Memphis, Tennessee. Well, Blue Meanie, when he was Brian, was one of our fan club members who went to Memphis with us. And obviously, one thing led to the other, and the man he's all over the place. But Blue Meanie will be at our show on May 3rd. Jim Molyneux, another referee. He calls himself the original ECW referee. He was also one of the original TWA referees. Okay, and he's going to be in attendance as well. Glenn Osborne. Now, Glenn Osborne lives in Westchester. Glenn Osborne had a feud with Jimmy Giannetti. Okay, and one of my issues coming up on May 3rd is I'm going to have Jimmy Giannetti and Glenn Osborne in the same building. I'm going to have Michael Bruno and Tony Stetson in the same building. I'm going to have Johnny Hotbody and Tony Stetson in the same building. I got problems, okay? And I've had 6 calls from my insurance guy just to make sure of how I'm handling all this. All right, there's going to be some concerns here, which is, I guess, a positive. The next name is some asshole named Bay Ragney. Okay. Okay. We call each other. He's a great guy. And he was Chubby Dudley in the ECW. He wrestled not once for the TWA, but he was at Ringmasters Wrestling School for 2 years. He could just never graduate. And then when he finally got to the point to graduate, I went out of business. So I owe him. Then I've got H.D. Ryder, who was Chubby Dudley's partner when Chubby Dudley was Ryder. But H.D. Ryder trained at Ringmasters Wrestling School. So he's going to be there. Sandman is going to be in attendance. All right. Everybody knows Sandman. Well, Sandman started at Ringmasters Wrestling School. Now, when we did him, he was a beach bum. Obviously, he then took on the moniker that he took on, which obviously
he had
worked.
a surfboard.
He had the surfboard, and then he graduated to drinking beer. Okay.
Amen.
But Sandman will be in the house. Tony Stetson. Tony Stetson is another one of my guys. Tony Stetson he fought Johnny Hotbody all over South Philadelphia. Those two guys, me putting those two guys in the same building, I'm hoping that they forget their 35 years worth of history. But I've talked to both of them. And it's funny, when I called Tony, the first thing he said is Hotbody going to be there? And I said, yeah. He says, great. I've been looking to get even. I'm going, oh, my God. And when I called Hotbody, he tells me he doesn't like Stetson even to this day. So, needless to say, got some problems. The next two guys happen to be in alphabetical order. We're going to be doing live streaming of our show. For those who can't make it to our show, you'll be able to see it live streamed. Our two commentators are going to be Jay Sully and Steve Truitt. Steve used to be Stevie Wonderful.
Correct.
Okay? Yep. And they're going to be doing our live stream. They're going to be doing the live stream. We're also filming a documentary of the TWA, and obviously our card will be on there amongst a lot of interviews with a lot of these guys. Just 4 more to go. Larry Winters obviously can't be in attendance because he passed away, unfortunately. But we've spoken to his son, Colin, and Colin will be in attendance representing the Winters family. All that, he's also looking to bring other family members as well. But I'm looking forward to seeing Colin. I haven't seen him since, quite frankly, the funeral. Then Chris Wilde, who is another phenomenal wrestler. Chris Wilde and Breaker Moreno, they used to rip up the ECWA. It was ridiculous. Correct. And there were times, I happened to have been a manager at the time under the name of Joel Blackheart, and these guys worked for me at one time or another. I used to watch their matches, and they were this generation's DC Drake and Larry Winters. It's this generation's Tony Stetson and Johnny Hotbody. These guys, and I got to put these two guys in the same building. It's not going to be a good thing. And then last but not least, Joe Zanoli, who was one of my original referees. He was originally a photographer, became a referee, and now was a booker for the ECWA at one time. And now he tags on and does what he can do in the industry. So those are the names of the people who have committed to being in attendance on May 3rd, in addition to all the bigger names that we're getting. And I will tell you, they are the bigger names, quite frankly. It's one thing to bring in a Sabu. It's one thing to bring in a Tony Atlas. But those 25 guys that I just mentioned are what made this reasonably possible. So it's just a great thing. Anyway, I know that was a simple answer, simple question, another long answer. But we got lots of talent coming on May 3rd, and I hope you guys can make it down.
Absolutely.
Yes. Sounds good.
Yeah, definitely sounds good with all those names, especially some of the people that originally worked with you on that.
Exactly.
So my question for you is, during your time, you mentioned so many other jobs you did. I mean, the radio, even beforehand, setting everything up. But what other jobs within the wrestling business did you do?
That's a good question. No, I'll tell you. In the business, I was a promoter. Okay, I mean that's what I did. When I worked with Crockett, I promoted, whatever that means. I used to do a lot of luncheons with the wrestlers. Back then, you were able to do that. So I was a promoter for that. Carmella and I started that. Then eventually took it on my own when Carmella decided to become a full-time mother. I did that on the side. But I was essentially, I was a promoter. I never wrestled. I was at the Ringmasters Wrestling School every night, but I was there more to kind of put the deal together. the promises that we made with the wrestlers when they came to our wrestling school, they paid the tuition to get in, but my commitment to them was that they would earn at least that money back by wrestling at my shows. And for the most part, those guys did pretty good. Some of those guys went on to bigger and better things. When you think back to the day when I started promoting, Cactus Jack was probably the best name I'd had. And Cactus to this day will look, I'm in his book. When you read the book, I'm there on 13 pages by name. So I actually tell people, how many people do you know that was on the inside the #1 bestseller list? I'm it. So anyway, Cactus, unfortunately, when we put the date together for May 3rd, Cactus wasn't available. Okay, he's already got he's got a previous commitment. Otherwise, he'd be there. He wanted me to change the date, and we had already got the contract signed. It just wasn't going to happen. But when you look back to the wrestlers that I worked with, it's scary, the ones that are still around. And then I have another list, which I will not read because I'll bore you guys all to death. The people that worked with me in some capacity that have since passed away. So one of the things that we're doing at our show on May 3rd, by the way, the doors open at 6 p.m. The matches start at 7:30. And we're going to have 8 matches. And again, we're not talking about any of the matches yet because we haven't announced them yet. We're going to have 8 matches. We're going to have 8 TWA style matches. I'll leave it at that. But in addition to that, we're hopefully going to have the banner drop. Again, we still need 410 names, but I think we're going to get it. But hopefully, we're going to have a ceremony for the banner drop. We're also going to have
banner, the signatures.
Yep,
we all signed it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, what we're going to
I signed it twice.
Well, you're supposed to use different emails to do that, but anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, you had the trick. One of the things that we're going to do, in addition to hopefully the banner sign, and by the way, I'm going to have Bay send you the link. So if you can send the link out to your viewers, that'd be great. Yes. But we're also going to have a 10-bell salute, and it's going to be something a little different than what most people have seen in 10-bell salutes. First of all, we're going to have Bob Ortiz in the ring. We're going to have all of those TWA stars that I just mentioned surrounding the ring. And my hope is we're not going to have Tony Stetson and John Hyde on the same sides. We're going to make sure we position everybody. But we're going to have all 25 people around the ring. Bob Ortiz is going to read the 42 names of the wrestlers that worked for me in some capacity that have passed away. And we're going to do one bell, read 4 names, another bell, that type of thing. So we're going to have, and our goal, if we sell the building out, the building holds 897 people. My hope is that we can get silence from 897 people as we salute these names. I mean, I have Kevin Sullivan. I mean, the names are just Bruiser Brody, Bam Bam Bigelow. There's a lot of names that passed away ever since they've worked for me in some capacity. So we're going to have that 10-bell salute. Then in addition to all of that, I've been writing a book for, I'm going to say, 7 years. And I just never had the impetus to get the book done. Well, now that we're doing the show, the book is going to be released on May 3rd. Nice. And we're going to have, the book is being written by 2 people that if you're in the wrestling business, you know the names. We got Dan Murphy and Scott Teal from Crowbar Press. Nice. And those 2 guys, right now I have the commitment from Scott Teal to be in the building. Dan has been out in Europe somewhere, so I'm going to get a hold of Dan when he gets back. Hopefully he'll be able to come down from New York. So you're going to have hopefully the 2 ghostwriters, and then of course you'll have me there. And our hope is if people want autographs, they can get the book and get the autographs, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to have the book release. We're going to have the 10-bell ceremony. We're going to have a documentary done, including the show. This is incredible. There's so much stuff going on. It's ridiculous. But to answer your question, I was always a promoter. I'm still promoting.
Very cool. So, Joel, you ran TWA from the years of 89 to 91. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Nope,
what year was your favorite? What year was your favorite?
1990. Okay, and it's funny. I did 4 big shows a year, and then we had little shows. And I tell you, that year we probably did about 30 shows. 1990 it just seemed to be the hype. 91 was, I'll tell you something. My last show was going to be January 25th of 92. Okay, that show would have been unbelievable. Okay, and it just wasn't going to happen. And unfortunately, the week before, on January 18th, I went on to the radio show and basically said to everybody, I closed it up and said, well, we wrestled, we brawled, we tried it all. Okay, and our slogan was, we wrestled, we brawled, we did it all. Well, Johnny Hotbody gave me a great idea for the title of my book. And so I'm going to give him a dedication in my book, but it's going to be called We Wrestled, We Brawled, We Started It All. And that's effectively what happened. We started it all. It was when he said it right away, I said, that's the name of the book. Okay. And what I did originally is my goal was to take the best of Memphis, take the best of Florida, take the best of Georgia, take the best of World Class, take the best of the AWA, take the best of Pacific Northwest. That's what I did. And I brought him into the Northeast. Nobody else was doing it. Now, keep in mind, of all the promoters that I knew, they did better than me. Okay, because what they did is they did the shows in a local gym or a high school gymnasium. They typically had one major match. Okay, and then they had their local guys. I had to have six main events in every show. And I rented a building that could hold 3,000 people. I rented the Civic Center. I went from the Temple University Mechanical Hall, grew to the Civic Center. I tried to do, for lack of the term, major leagues or the minor leagues. Okay, and the reality was that this show that we're doing on May 3rd is essentially took 40 years in the making. Okay, and we're putting this show together. This is going to be my one and done. Like I said to everybody, I'm not doing this again. If this show is going to take over a year to put together. I used to do shows every 13 weeks. Okay, I was just a lot younger back then. Okay, and right now I'm so busy as it is. I have my regular business with my partner. Then I do concerts on the side. I'm a promoter for that. And now I'm doing this one wrestling show. So again, this goes back to that other question. I've been a promoter all my life.
Nice. So the TWA still ran after 1991 with new promoters. Do you regret stepping aside in 91?
Absolutely not. No. Well, let me change. Yeah, that was 2 different questions. The fact that others took when Ty Gordon took over the ECW, at that time Eastern Championship Wrestling. Mm-hmm. From the day I retired on January 18th of 92, I mentioned to you, I didn't know anything about wrestling until 17 years later. I didn't even know the ECW was on TV. I never watched the WWF anyway.
Right.
When Croc was doing it, I didn't watch anything. So at the time, no, I was not sorry. In hindsight, I'm sorry, because I really didn't get the credit. And then my guys didn't get the credit that they deserve. DC Drake, Larry Winters, Johnny Hotbody, Tony Stetson, those 4 led the way. They bled for the city of Philadelphia. They sweated their ass off for the city of Philadelphia. Then the Sandmans and J.T. Smiths and Jimmy Genetti's and Glenn Osborne's and all these other guys, they all started to do the same thing. Okay, and in hindsight, yeah, I would have loved to continue because I think we could have created something. But the reality of the money situation, I ran out of money, but the reality here was I had 29,000 listeners on the radio and always drew between 1,500 and 2,000 people for my cards. So right. 27,000 people never came to a show. And if they would have come to the show, I would have been still in the business. I could have rented out the Spectrum back then if they would have
right.
all just come to a show. Yeah.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll throw. Oof.
TWA ran after. Oh, sorry. What was your favorite match in TWA?
Well, to be honest, man, see, that's a tough question because I had a lot of favorites. But the number one feud that people still talk about is Eddie Gilbert against Cactus Jack. Okay, and I ran a whole program with those guys, and God, I love those guys. I do. I mean, Eddie's since passed away, obviously. Cactus is still around. Those guys wrestled beyond belief for me. And I do believe that, and I think I would hope Cactus would agree with this, that Cactus reached new levels with me to the point where he eventually signed with WCW. He eventually signed for WWE. And he's become a millionaire because he was wrestling before me. Okay. I just think I got him the press because one of the things that I did in hindsight, part of my promoting, I got in bed with the magazines. The one thing I suddenly realized was most of the magazines were based in New York. Bill Apter lives 10 minutes from me, 15 minutes from me now. George Napolitano, I mean, I can go down the list. The photographers suddenly realized that if they came to my shows, they got pictures. When Kerry Von Erich came to Philadelphia for me, they got pictures of Kerry Von Erich. When Jerry Lawler got here, they got, instead of going to Memphis, they saved them a ton of travel time. And all I used to tell them was, if you take pictures from my show, all I want is somewhere in the credit goes to the TWA. I don't need my name on there. Just credit Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. Well, when all this stuff started to snowball, and they suddenly realized we had a serious promotion. Bill Apter was attending one of my shows at Temple University. This is before we went to the Civic Center. And I had brought out the TWA belt. And I had a real belt made. I didn't have these sheet metal belts that some of these cheap promotions put together. I had a real belt. And those belts, ultimately, when I got out of the business, Todd Gordon took the belts and made them the ECW belts. They just took out the letters TWA and put ECW. So those real belts, when I came out of the ring, I announced the match, the belt in the ring, showed everybody the belt. And then I was walking down the steps out of the ring. And Bill Apter comes up to me. And he says, I want you to know that PWI is going to recognize your belts. Okay, if you remember with Pro Wrestling Illustrated, every month they had the top 10 wrestlers in each division. They recognized the TWA. Bill Apter said, we're going to recognize you. The minute I'm walking out of the ring with the belt. All right, and it just put us on a different level. Okay, if you ever looked at PWI, generally speaking, it didn't have any of the smaller promoters in the area. Okay, it had the AWA and the NWA and whatever, but never, well, I can't say never, very rarely did they have any local promotions. Well, that didn't hold true for me because they put me right into PWI from day one.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yep, and that I mean, I owe Bill Apter. It's funny, I haven't talked to Bill in a while. He may not have realized what he did for us, but in hindsight, man, Jesus, he did great for us.
Will Bill Apter be in the arena on May 3rd?
Well, you're gonna have to ask Bill Apter. I will. He'll know about it. Yeah, I haven't heard from Bill. I haven't called him yet. We're so far ahead; it's ridiculous. Although Bill Apter, I got to, he's booked everywhere. Okay, I hope he doesn't have an agent. I mean, he's all over. He's finally getting recognition for all the work that he did back in the day. Okay, and there's a yearning. There's a reason why the TWA is coming back on May 3rd. There's a reason why Bill Apter's getting all these Hall of Fame awards. It's because the wrestling now sucks, and people want to see the old school. Now, some of the wrestling is beginning to change. I'm not going to tell you all the current wrestling sucks. But right. I don't know about you. There's a lot of these shows. You watch them on TV. These damn things are all rehearsed. They're looking at the camera angles. The cameras have taken over the sport. When I created TWA, I had no TV. All I had was a radio show. Okay? I had no internet. There wasn't an internet. I didn't have cell phones. There wasn't cell phones.
Right.
Okay. This was a time when this is prehistoric compared to what it is today.
Right.
Okay. and I didn't have any mats around the ring. When my guys went out of the ring, they destroyed the place. Terry Funk and Jerry Lawler cost me so much money in broken chairs and tables. It's ridiculous. Okay, that's one of the reasons.
I believe that.
I'll give you one better. One of the first matches that Carmel and I promoted to Valley Center, Sheraton. The main event was Abdul the Butcher versus Bruiser Brody.
Oh boy!
Nice.
They destroyed everything. And in the back, they just said, "What do you want?" I said, "Give me your match." And one of the reputations that I have is I overpaid. Okay, but one of the things I did with the guys when I overpaid them, I said, "You just better earn this. Give me the match of your life." And here we are, 35 years later, talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but getting back to your question, the Cactus Jack Eddie Gilbert feud was my favorite.
Very nice. So, who is on your Mount Rushmore of TWA? It can be any talent, including yourself.
DC Drake, Larry Winters, Johnny Hotbody, and Tony Stetson.
Very nice.
There it is.
You notice,
Damn,
not
I
me.
gotta say, that was like the fastest anyone answered that question.
Well, that's the banner. That's the banner.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, it
And
is.
you'll notice, I didn't put myself on the banner. Now I'm on the banner because they put me on there, but the Mount Rushmore. Okay, and those four guys bled for this city. They sweated for this city. They threw each other. DC Drake got thrown off a balcony before New Jack did it. Okay,
Wow.
I mean that was the quickest answer. That's some legitimate answer.
All right, LA.
What do you miss the most of TWA?
Oh, the action. I'll tell you. All right, I'll give you when I did the promotions, I promoted shows like a fan. Those shows were put together by a fan, me, okay? Larry Winters was my booker.
Those shows were put together by an asshole.
Hey, there's Ray Ragley.
He's in the house.
See, I called Bay an asshole. I called Bay an asshole 2 or 3 times, and now he has to catch up.
See, I had to catch
3
up.
times.
I want to know why. Number one, I don't see your beautiful freaking face on here,
Well,
Joel.
I can't. We've tried to work the camera; it's not working for some reason.
You see, you broke the fucking camera.
Well, the three wills will recognize this. Right before you came on, they had asked the question of who's on the Mount Rushmore of the TWA.
Ooh,
And you'll notice, guys, that Bay Ragney was not mentioned by me at all.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Not at all.
The Mount Rushmore of the TWA are the 5 names that belong on that banner.
Thank you. Well,
That's
it's
the
four
Mount
names.
Rushmore.
I gave
That's-
the 4 names. I gave the 4
And that's
names.
what he did.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore has 4 people, so I wouldn't be on it, but it would be those
No,
4
you
guys.
would be on it because you would be the one over top of those 4 names.
Well, it's like I said before at the beginning of the show. If Todd is God and I created Todd, what does that make me?
You know what? That's a damn good question that we all need to try to figure out.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Is there a god of a god? Is there a god above a god?
I don't know. Well, it's funny. Todd and I are still friends. We still talk. Okay. One time I actually this goes back a ways. I actually had an idea, okay, that maybe I wanted to start promoting again. So I mentioned to Todd, what we should do is he and I should get together and start promoting a card. Okay. And since Goodhart and Gordon both start with G-O, I was going to call it Go Wrestling. Okay. But
Thankfully, Todd was smart enough to say, hell no.
Exactly.
Well, thank God he said no, because I wound up not acting on it at all. And I'm just glad this is a one and done deal.
Me too. Trust me, me too.
Well.
Bay and I have been talking every day, once or twice, or even 3 times for the last 6 months, and the show is still 8 months away.
But you know what? Like that, and I'm gonna get all mushy on you, Joel.
Oh,
That has been the most important thing. Like Joel Goodhart, the human being, Joel Goodhart, the person, is so important to me and has been for 30 plus years. So I've been blessed and honored to be able to now do this with Joel. And I really, truly want to see nothing but a success and see this situation honored and see Joel and Larry, especially fucking Larry. God forbid, this guy who's not here no more. I was honored to not only know Larry, but to be, taught by Larry so much, and Johnny and Tony and DC Drake. People just truly don't understand what these guys did. If you were not there, like I got to be there. I was a 21-year-old kid at the time, and it truly changed my whole outlook on professional wrestling. It changed my life. It was monumental. So people don't understand. And I was part of ECW, and I was part of Extreme, and I was part of every hype moment of that era. None of it would have happened if it wasn't for those 5 guys. That's the main point people need to understand. Joel and those guys set the groundwork. They were doing that before there was the internet, before they had TV. Joel was doing it off a fucking radio show. A radio show.
Mm-hmm.
AM radio, Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. Who's getting up Saturday at 7 a.m.? Guess what? 29,000 people were doing it every Saturday morning to listen to Joel and whoever his guests were and talk on all his shows.
How about that? LA, your next question go to both, to Joel and Bay.
May 3rd, 2025.
No. Before that.
That was the next question. I was
Oh, sorry.
I was letting
right,
Chubby
right,
Deadly say his piece.
Let Chubby answer that question from you, LA.
What do you miss the most about the TWA?
Oh my God. Like, as a fan, Total Shoot, as a fan, because as Joel stated, I was blessed to be a student for 2+ years in the Ringmasters Wrestling School. So I used to go to all the shows. I used to see what was happening with the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance and this hardcore wrestling that was going on. But witnessing things like Cactus Jack and Eddie Gilbert and their feud, that alone was mind-blowing. Or how about, who even thinks as a wrestling promoter, think of this, okay? What kind of warped individual puts together a battle royal? Let's shoot, all right? We want to shoot. Most promoters will throw a battle royal on a show to sell tickets of their students. Joel Goodhart, that asshole that I love so much, he decides we're going to do a last blood battle royal. The last person bleeding is the winner. What? Who thinks crazy things like that?
That's awesome.
Joel Goodhart. You didn't see Paul Heyman do stuff like that. No. Joel Goodhart. Remember the name, Joel Goodhart. And also, if Joel Goodhart didn't have Missy Hyatt dance on top of Todd Gordon's glass enclosures in his store, we wouldn't know Todd is God.
How about that? Will, do your thing.
May 3rd, 2025, TWA returns. About 14 years hiatus for One and Done. And it's happening at the historical ECW Arena. What are your most looking forward to on that day? That's the both of you.
All right. What I'm looking forward to is midnight when it's all over. All right. I'll tell you what it is. My answer may very well be based. The camaraderie and family feeling that we had back in the 80s and early 90s, I want to see it revisited. And I do believe, even though I've got feud after feud and guys hating these other guys, when I get all these guys together after 35 years, the camaraderie that's going to happen in that building, the nostalgia, the years of experience that's going to be in that building this one night, that's what I'm looking forward to. I really am. It's not in one particular match. It's not one particular person coming to WrestleCon. It's the camaraderie. It's the local guys that made the TWA, and it's the local guys that are going to send out the TWA in style. That's my answer.
Nice.
Very nice.
I mean, Joel summed it up. Like, this is where Joel laid the groundwork and was like a true mentor to me, because as I was in my it was like I was revisiting high school where I was in a multi-year plan. The same thing happened at wrestling school. So I got to be able to attend all these events. And so Joel used to do these meetings at his apartment with the locker room, and he would sit us all down, grace us with some Domino's pizza, and then we would talk about what was on the plan for the next so many months. And I remember sitting there between the ribbing going back and forth between some of the guys and the ball breaking and the fun and the laughs and the jokes. But when Joel would talk, he was like E.F. Hutton. Everybody listened. And they sat around and they listened because Joel, first off, he commanded the room. And also, too, he always had importance to say, because everything he would bring to us and tell us that he was about to do for the TWA and for the locker room, number one, he fucking delivered. Just like his match, Goodhart delivers. He was always busting his ass to bring TWA to a higher level. So next thing you know, he's on the phone with Japan. He's on the phone with Memphis. He's on the phone with this one. He's on the phone with that one. And it wasn't like typical wrestling business where he's blowing smoke up somebody's ass. He delivered. And May 3rd, 2025, I've been blessed by Joel asking me to help him in this. And we're going to fucking deliver for everybody, not just in Philadelphia, but wherever you're going to come, because we have people in Canada telling us they want to do a bus trip. We got people from down south that want to do a bus trip. We're going to bring people from all over to come to this show and see that banner raised, Joel, raised. Because he says it's going to be lowered. I say it's going to be raised. And we're going to have a fun night. And what we're bringing to you, it's going to be, yes, it's all about professional wrestling, but we're bringing to you that night nostalgia. It's going to be basically like a high school reunion of fans and the locker room, and it's going to be a damn good fucking wrestling show from top to bottom. And you're going to have an extension of emotions. You're going to have highs, lows, tears, cheers, and everything in between. and you're going to want to be there. Because if not, you are a jackass.
Pretty much.
Well, see, Bay is being proven wrong because he's going to be there and he's a jackass. So there you go.
Hey! I can't deny it.
Will, your question.
All right, my question. If you could promote what you pretty much already done, but on this case, past, present, future type of match, I mean, I'm still blown away with the first, Royal Rumble with the blood thing. So I can't wait to hear what you would say now.
With no budget. No
my
budget.
dream match that you would set up now. Anybody, there's a time machine we can go in the past and get those people, or whatnot. We can go in the future and grab some guys who are babies now, but you can see the talent and potential in them. So who would you put?
Well, let me understand the question. Are you talking about putting people in the ring in their heyday?
Hey, it's your world. You're creating just like you've been doing. But
I already know the first
this
person.
creative mind.
I had the privilege of almost putting together the three Nature Boys in the ring at the same time.
Wow.
I had Ric Flair,
Woo!
I had Buddy Rogers, and I had Buddy Landell.
Wow.
Now, Rick eventually went to sign with it wasn't going to happen. He went to WCW at the time. But I had a commitment and a match signed for Nature Boy Buddy Rogers against Nature Boy Buddy Landell. It was going to be the Battle of the Nature Boys. It was going to be on the show that I had to cancel. Okay, and that if Buddy Rogers would have won that match, he wrestled in 6 different decades. Okay,
Wow.
and we had the commitment. The match was signed, sealed, and delivered. If Flair was available, we had an angle. It was going to be all three of those would have been in the ring at the same time. Okay, the wrestling photographers from all over the world were going to be there. Okay, not to mention the other matches that I had signed for the card, which was just the most incredible show I would have had. But if you're asking me what I would, the three Nature Boys, no question about it.
Mind blown.
I don't even know what to say on that. Like that would be interesting.
Still, the mark and fan in me is still devastated. Like when Joel announced the TWA was closing on that last Wrestling Radio, and I sat and cried like a baby. I don't know if I was crying more because I was not going to see the Battle of the Nature Boys or because I didn't know what I was going to do in my wrestling career. It was a toss-up. I think it was more the Nature Boys because I was such a huge fan of the whole Nature Boy world. And thankfully, because of Joel, I became a good friend of Nature Boy Buddy Landell, which I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but that's a whole nother episode.
Right.
All right. Any plugs or upcoming bookings, or is this really the one and done?
I'm going to put jumper cables on all your nipples because you guys need life. Come on.
You know why we're calling it one and done? It's not called one and done and maybe. This is one and done.
Done.
Okay.
Ever.
And first of all, think about this one. And this is something I've always talked about. It takes so much money to do a promotion. Ted Turner had $1 billion and lost money and got out. Okay. How are you supposed to put a show together with $35,000 with no TV? It's impossible. We can do one and done. We ain't do one done and then some. Okay. This is one and done. I believe in the reason it was called the TWA, Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, is I was scheduled to wrestle in 3 states. Now we haven't with Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. We haven't have done one show in Maryland. Okay, but that was the ally. We wrestled in 3 states. Okay, I believe in truth in advertising. When I'm calling it one and done, Now, let me check. I am one and done. When I'm finished, if Bay wants to pick it up and run with it.
No,
No, he says one and done.
It's one and done. And it's funny. We've been doing a lot of these podcasts, and this is great, guys. You just gotta, you don't understand how much I appreciate, because you guys are what wrestling radio used to be. Okay, you have an audience, your list. People they're hesitant when they hear one and done. Oh, this is not one and done. This is going to be the beginning of no. It's one and done. It's not one done and maybe.
We don't want one and done. I am so hyped for this show, May 3rd. We want more.
Good. Then you can start up the TWA. You can start up the TWA after we're done. Good boy.
Hey, there you go. It's funny because I got texted the other day. I'm not going to say names, but I got texted by somebody from the TWA locker room saying, all right, so after this show, you're going to keep going after Joel bails out. I'm like, fuck you. No, I'm not. I am one and done with Joel, and we are going to go to Hawaii or wherever we're going, and we're going to laugh at anybody else because this is it. We're one and done. This was my whole agreement with Joel because that was the only way Joel persuaded me to jump on board with him. And it was the only thing that made sense. And we were talking again the other day laughing, and we both said, like, it's one and done. As much as, you know, the crazy in both of us would love to do more, the smart, sensible thing is one and done. Goodbye. That's why everybody needs to be there. May 3rd, WrestleCon, one and done, and then the after party, which we're going to announce very soon.
Awesome. There you go.
Yeah,
As
now there's you, as you can see.
Will be there.
Yep, Sabu is the number one name that we announced. Sabu started with the TWA. Okay, and he's going to be in attendance. He's going to be there just for the WrestleCon. He's not on the show. He's just coming in for WrestleCon. We announced the second name was Tony Atlas. And there you go. Tony Atlas is now,
look at that.
Tony's now on. He was the star of the McMahon series on Netflix. No question about it.
Absolutely.
And as soon as it happened, I got a hold of Tony, and he agreed to do it. So he's going to be in attendance as well. He's going to be driving in. We are going to announce a name almost every week, okay? And we're going to wind up, in addition to the 25 TWA stars, we're going to have 15 people on the level of a Tony Atlas and a Sabu. We're going to have some great names there. People are going to want to see. I'm going to tell you, I actually looked at the list. I am willing to bet, and Bay, I'll talk to you about this a little later on. I'm willing to make a bet.
That means he's going to spring something on me. Go ahead.
No. You'll know the names when I give you the names. But the names that we have working, I don't think they've ever been in the same building at the same time.
Ooh.
Okay?
Ooh.
So oh, my God. There's some interesting stuff going on here. And quite frankly, here's what's my concern, if you want to call it, because WrestleCon is a separate ticket because you can come to WrestleCon from 12 to 3:30 and not stay for the matches. Okay? But if you do the day right, here's what you do. You drive in from Delaware County, you park your freaking car. You come to the WrestleCon from 12 to 3:30. Then there's a couple hour break. Go out to dinner in South Philly. I can name you a bazillion restaurants. It's all good food down there. Come back. Absolutely. The doors open at 6. You're still not full, so you got to have a hot dog and a hamburger because I'll tell you, the food at ECW Arena is pretty damn good these days. He really upgraded the kitchen. Too. Yep. Then at 7:30, the matches start. Then the show will run till 10:30, 10:45, whatever it is. And then we're going to have an after party. Now, as Bay said, we didn't announce it yet. The after party is a place you're going to have to be. Okay? Absolutely. And the only way you get into the party is with a ticket. You can't show up at the after party without a ticket. Okay?
Bingo.
There you go.
And I'm telling you, this is going to be, you're not going to get home till 3 a.m, and I don't give a damn.
And I'm throwing, if you don't have a fucking ticket stub to show me, I'm throwing your ass out. You don't belong.
You don't belong.
And this is going to be phenomenal. It's a place you're going to want to be. Here's a suggestion for you 3 wills. Okay? Why don't you put from Delaware County? why don't you get the word out that you're going to have a block of tickets, 10 tickets, 20 tickets, whatever it is, and get a whole group for you to all sit together. I can get those tickets pulled aside for you.
The
Okay?
Delco County.
Delco County, whatever. In fact, Donnie Allen's from Delco County, Bass from Delaware County. Delaware County's a hotbed for this stuff. Okay?
Sandman's from Delaware County.
Is there a price tag on them tickets yet for the after party?
Yes. All right. So tickets are on sale. I'll give you this. If you want to go buy tickets online, which is the only place you go to 2300arena.com. Okay. Or you can go to the box office. Now the box office is only open Tuesday through Friday from 10 to 3. Okay. So you can go to the box office or go online 24/7. The price for the tickets, the WrestleCon is $20. It's general admission. There's no seating. You come in, you party your eyes out. But I'm telling you right now, bring your credit card, bring your cash. You're going to spend a fortune. We're going to have all new TWA merchandise. All the people that are going to be there are bringing their pictures and autographs and whatever. Trust me when I tell you, it's going to be costly. It's $20 to get in. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Then for the show,
normal. That's normal.
Yep. And then for the show, we have 4 different price tickets. We have the front row, and there's only 80 front row seats. The front row is $100. Okay. We've already sold 1/4. I think it's 22 seats that we've sold of the 80. Okay. So we have front row seats available at $100 a pop. And that's not for everybody, for sure. Then the second row, after the front row is sold out, will be $75. So we have 80 front row, 80 tickets, second row at $75. Then rows 3 through 10 or 12, whatever it is, they are reserved seats at $35. And then the way it's set up is there's corner seats that are general admission, and they are $25. Okay. Now, bottom line to this show is if it sells out, the bottom line is, and Bay's aware of this, we break even. We're not looking to make money. If there's a profit, much of that profit's going to go to the Cauliflower Alley Club. Okay?
Nice.
And we're doing this, and Rich Engling is going to be there to validate that the money goes to the Cauliflower Alley Club. The con...
He's the vice president of Cauliflower Alley.
Yeah,
I can't wait to meet him.
Yeah, and I mentioned that before. And then the WrestleCon, people will never understand how expensive it is to put together a true WrestleCon. It's amazing to me. Rob Feinstein did these icons of wrestling. He did it like every 3 months. I can't imagine how he did it. Okay. Right. Now you got to remember, Rob Feinstein, he started with me. Okay. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but he started with me. Okay. And then he went on, and he's obviously done great things on his own. Okay. When we put this together, the one thing Ben and I decided is, right, wrong, or indifferent, we're doing this on our own. Okay. It's amazing how many people have communicated to Bay and myself by text, by messenger. I want in. We want to help. Can we do this? Can we do that? It is unbelievable how many people want to get involved in this because they realize this show, it's almost like a WrestleMania. It really is. It's a place you're going to want to be. The independent wrestlers are all communicating with us. It's the scariest thing. It's unbelievable. Okay. And this show isn't for 8 months yet. And you're my 10th podcast. Okay. Wow. What's going to happen when we announce the matches?
Yeah. That's the funny thing.
My guess is you're going to want me back.
Yeah, we want you back.
Okay. Delaware County needs to put together, I wouldn't say a bus trip because there's no need to grab a bus, but you guys should. You should do something and coordinate it and try to figure something out. And we'd be more than happy to help you out in doing that.
Okay.
You know what, together. Too? I want to say, too, like Joel was saying, like how much money it is to put on a WrestleCon and all. I'm going to say this. I was there during the ECW days. I was there after the ECW days. I know how much ECW and Paul Heyman and Todd used to hand over to the arena. I know how much federations afterwards used to hand over to the arena. And I know how much this is costing. And this is no fucking bullshit. This is a shoot. It's 10 times the amount it used to cost to run a show in this building. So this is not for the faint of heart. This is the real deal. And we are bringing it balls to the walls. And we're going to give you, like we said, WrestleCon, one and done, and then the after party somewhere else. But still, you gotta attend the pre-party to get to the after party.
There you go.
You got to get a ticket to get into both.
Exactly.
And everybody get yours today.
The better seats are available now.
There you go.
You know, as we get closer to the show, the tickets will start moving big time. So if you're going to do it, if you want to go to the show, do it now. Get your seats now. Bottom line is, we're going to sell 897 tickets, whether you buy a ticket now or you buy it 6 months from now. We're going to have 897 tickets sold. We're not papering the house. So you got to get those tickets. The sooner you get the ticket, the better your seat.
Yeah.
Right. Any final questions? Any final questions?
No, they actually answered my questions.
Come on. Shoot. Do some shoot questions. What do you got? Come on.
Well, you mentioned, of course, the money thing, and I like the reference that he did with Ted Turner because that is so darn true. If you were to pass your knowledge on to somebody who was interested in promoting, what would you tell that person?
Don't
listen
to it.
Don't listen to me.
Wait. He says that now, 30 years later, when I called him for advice in 1994. Now he says,
well, shoot, Joe, I figured you were the right person to ask that question to. Just because, I mean, hearing from your journey on how it even started to you now, even when you stepped away, you were still getting all this information. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the one thing the difference today versus yesterday. Back in the day, if I wanted to have a luncheon, I went up to the wrestler on the day when they were in town. I said, next month you're in town, I want to do a luncheon. How much is it going to cost me? We gave him a number. I wrote him a check and got it done. Now you got to go through their agents. Now these guys are all superstars, okay? In fact, for the WWE, they're not even called wrestlers anymore, okay?
No.
Entertainers.
Yeah. Because sports entertainment, and again, my contention, I'm still an old kayfabe guy. Sports entertainment sucks because it's not a sport and it's not entertainment. Okay? It's not even it's a pretense. The bottom line here is you want old school wrestling. The reason that shows like ours are becoming as popular, you mentioned it before, it's because there's a yearning for what used to be. Television killed the sport. Cable killed the sport. The internet killed the sport. Okay.
I totally agree about the internet part. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
It did. It killed it. And the reality is, it's the one sport that got hurt by all that. Now, with all that being said, we're going to use the internet as best we can. We're using it now, as a matter of fact, okay, by talking to you guys. Our goal is to get 897 raving lunatics in a building who will stand peacefully quiet during a 10-bell salute. That's going to be amazing. Okay? I want 897 screaming fans to scream and shout the way they used to do it at my TWA shows, where 4-letter words were the way to go. Okay?
TWA.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I know ECW became a chant. Our goal that night is to make TWA a chant. Okay? And here's, the scary part of all this is, I know that Bay and I talk about this all the time. We can picture this show from beginning to end. It's our WrestleMania, whatever you want to call it. Until this show happens, it's driving each other crazy. I'm ready to shoot Bay now. Okay? Bay's ready to kill me. We're going to kill each other. But you want to know something? At the end of the night, after the after party, it's going to be one handshake to each other. Okay.
No, it's going to be a fucking hug, motherfucker.
Okay. Well, fuck. I ain't hugging you, you asshole. Okay.
I'm hugging you. You don't have a choice. I'm hugging you.
The reality is,
trying.
yeah, the reality is, if you want to be anybody, you have to be there. Okay?
Right.
If you're not there, look, I tell people all the time, if you're a WWE fan, don't bother coming to the show. It's not, we're not looking for people that want to go to a circus. Okay? We want people to
come to the show. Come to the show.
I want you to be a wrestling fan. There's a difference between wrestling and wrestling. We did wrestling, and we're going to do it again. We're going to relive it for one night in the year. We're going to redo it. We're going to wrestle. That's why it's a WrestleCon, not a WrestleCon. And the names mean something. One and done.
One and
done.
I got a question for Joel. I want to ask Joel a question.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, here we go. By the way, babe, before you ask the question, I have both of my fingers up.
With doing all this that we're doing, what is the absolute, besides dealing with an asshole like me, what is the absolute worst part of all of this?
The worst part of it is, to be honest, I'm counting on the fans who came to my shows who would want to see one more show. And again, some of those fans, quite frankly, have passed away. Yeah. I want the remaining fans to say, you know what? Let's go to his last show. He treated me to everything I treated to them before. So my worry is that the fans wait until the night before the show to buy the tickets. I would like this thing to be sold out way before May 3rd. I don't want to wait till May 3rd to find out if it's sold out. All right? So I'm counting on the fans to respond, knowing full well this is one and done. We're not repeating this in any way, shape, or form. And if you yearn for the old-time wrestling, then you got to be there. So I'm counting on the fans to not disappoint me. I don't know if that's the answer that you wanted, but that's the answer I'm giving.
Works for me.
It's all good. Another question, Willie Time?
Yeah, I do. I do got a question. Is you want to shoot? Bay asked for a shoot.
Yeah, of course.
Will Mike, Bruno, or Joe be involved at all?
Joe.
Who's Joe?
Zonelli, whatever his name is. The one who took
over. Zanoli.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So both of them are involved to the extent that they're there the night of the TWA show, but neither one's involved in the planning.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let me change that. Joe Zanoli and I do talk a lot, and Joe Zanoli can open doors. He knows some people. Okay. Mike Bruno is not involved in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Is that a good thing or bad thing?
What about Mike?
That's a good thing.
What about Mike? What about Mike? Mike T.
Mike Tartaglia.
Yes.
Is Mike Bruno.
That's Mike Bruno.
Oh. Okay.
Mike Bruno. He was in when he was in the TWA. He was known as Michael the Hitman Bruno, and he was tag partners with Tony Stetson.
Sweet.
Tartaglia is his real shoot name.
Right.
All right. I have one more question. After May 3rd, once the show is done, one and done, and you look back at the history of TWA, what would be one word you would describe the career of TWA?
Awesome.
Bay?
One word?
One word.
Sadness.
Ooh. Fuck.
That works too.
Wait, that works. Fuck is a great word.
Fuck is a great word.
So wait, there's our new slogan. Fucking awesome.
It's just
Put it together. That's one word.
The slogan is just fuck. That's it. Fuck. I mean, awe. How about that? Awe.
Oh, yeah.
That works.
If you're gonna cry, Bay, I know you.
Look, I'm going to tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
May 3rd, I was involved in dozens of matches in the ECW arena as one of the Dudleys. I never got to work a match in the ring as a Dudley. I was always a manager on the outside, etc. But May 3rd, again, I will not be working a match, but I will be involved, and I will shed tears on what we accomplished that night and what we pull off and what we do. And when I see that banner raised, life is complete.
Totally understand that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wish.
This is more like a melancholy now at the end. Like I'm kind of like want to join everybody. Like,
See, and this is the thing too. This, like, the importance of this show. It's like, all right, there's WrestleCon, fucking A. There's one and done. Oh my fucking god! But like, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because we have a banner ceremony that we're hoping to pull off. We need your signatures. We're at 593.
Mm-hmm.
Also, too, I don't know if Joel's mentioned this. I don't think I heard you mention this, Joel. Joel wrote a book.
Yes, you did.
Yes, he
I
did.
did mention it.
So Joel's book's coming out that day. And then is the fucking documentary. There's a documentary being done on the TWA and Joel. And it's all going to culminate that day and night. The final filming stages. So, I mean, and then you
Have
get
a chance to be part of history.
You get to
And
be part of
one other
history.
thing, it's going to be streamed all over the world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And then there's an after party.
Can't forget the after party.
There's an after party. And you got to have a ticket.
He looks for excuses to drink. There you go.
And look, every breath I take, every sip I make.
Put that on a t-shirt.
There you go.
Yeah, put that on the t-shirt.
Joel, there you go. New t-shirt, Joel.
Well, wait. We're going to have the T-shirts. I mentioned before we're going to have the TWA shirts, but there used to be a shirt put out by Squared Circle, actually created by Carmella. And it said, out of the closet, no longer meek. We're finally admitting we're wrestling freaks. Okay? We're going to have that shirt that night. Okay? If you want to consider yourself a wrestling freak, you need to get one of those darn shirts.
The crazy thing is, like, that statement was like 30 years ahead of its time.
Yeah.
There you go. You got to be there.
You got it. You said it. Be square, be there, or be square. That's it.
Chubby Dudley, I gotta say, I wish you had your match at the ECW arena, or one final match period.
You know what's funny? Like, when we first started putting this together, I said to Joel, "I want a match," and Joel was like, "Are you fucking crazy?" That was his exact words. "Are you fucking crazy? You just had 5 heart attacks. You're not having a match." And then the asshole that I love, Mr. Goodhart. Last week, I get a phone call from my old tag partner, HD Ryder. And HD says, "Hey, we should have a match." And then he talks to Joel and says to Joel, and Joel's like, "So do you want to do a match?" I'm like, no, I don't want to do a match.
That's funny.
All right. You want to take this home?
I would like to do one last plug for you guys.
Look at that. Come on.
Go ahead.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned before, this is huge. You have a WrestleCon beforehand, as well as on May 3rd, 2025. Okay? TWA returns. I'm telling y'all, he returns. After 14 years for one and done. He said it. It's done after this. There's a bunch of stuff happening beforehand. We have a 10-bell salute for the people who passed. It's a bunch of stuff happening at this event before, middle, and end. Please come sign up because a banner will be raised finally at the famous ECW arena. We're looking forward to it ourselves. Three Wheels of Wrestling, by far, we are definitely looking forward to this. You got Chubby Dudley here, and the famous guy who helped start it all, Goodhart. Please, May 3rd, 2025, at the 2300 ECW Arena.
Get your tickets today.
Thank you. On that note, we're taking it home.
You got it, guys. Thank you for much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Phil, you're
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
This is the Three Wheels of Wrestling podcast.
Thank you all for joining us. This was the Three Wheels of Wrestling podcast. You all have a good night.
Good night.